Hello friends, welcome back. Today we're going to go about message passing. That's what we're going to research. So I'm just going to open it up in my text editor about message passing. So I'm going to press Command / in order to get rid of there. And we get rid of the file that I was working on last time. And here we go. Line 27. Line 27 is where we're failing. So we start failing here. Well, let's just read through here. So we have a class called a message catcher, and it has a caught method on it. Here we instantiate a new message catcher, and we call it MC, and we want to assert caught. So what is this going to render out to? Well, it's going to say an instance variable, and when it was created with the method of caught, and that's going to be true, so nothing happens there. Test methods can be called directly. So the methods can be called directly. So test that methods can be evoked by sending the message. Message catcher.new, MC, mc.send, caught with a question mark. And methods can be invoked by sending the message. Cool. So I guess this is just another way to do it. So they're just saying that you can either do it with send, or you can just do it like that. Interesting. Test methods can be evoked more dynamically. MC message catcher.new. So we create it new, and then we say .send caught. What do you need to add to the first string? Well, I'm actually kind of confused about this. So let's exit our old REPL and start a new one. IRB is the internal Ruby REPL, or I'm not sure what it is. So now we've set the message catcher in there, and we can say MC is equal to message catcher.new. And then, so if we go mc.send caught, I think it's just going to be true. So MC caught plus what? What do you need to add to the first string? You need to add a question mark here. I think that's what they're trying to say. That's strange. Test methods can be evoked more dynamically. Oh, so you can, well, yeah. So this is just saying that you can actually dynamically set them. Like, what would you need to do to convert caught with all exclamations? You would just go down case, right? So caught down case, that's going to be like caught like that. And so if you were to go mc.send with caught like this, it's going to say no method error. But if you do, dot down case like you do here, it'll render out to true. Very strange. I'm not exactly sure. I guess it's kind of interesting because you could create some really, really interesting programs where you're dynamically generating the method that gets passed in. That's interesting. I think that would be interesting to see in practice. That's really strange. Okay, so test send with underscores will also send messages. So MC_send, my guess is that this is going to be true. Does Ruby provide both send and __ send? Why would it do that? I do not know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Test classes can be asked if they know how to respond. MC.respond to caught. So what happens if you go MC to do it for a method that doesn't work there? Here, I guess here you can make conditional statements to say, like, if it works, then do this, and if not. Because my guess is that this is going to be true. Yeah, so this is true, and then this is false. So this is just showing us that classes can be asked if they know how to respond. Cool, message catcher. So here we're going to add a new class to it. So we're going to add a payload of arguments, and they're going to pass in the args. So test sending a message with arguments, mccatcher.new. So let's just throw this into our REPL so that we're playing with the same thing. And we'll set MC to a new instance of message catcher, which will have these add payloads up there. So if we go mc.methods, we should see add a payload in there. So one of the methods is add a payload. We've created it and we've added it, and it responds with the args. So mc.add a payload. I think that this is going to be a argument error because we don't have anything there. No, I guess since we did nothing, it's just passing in an array, an empty array. So we're just going to have an empty array here. mc.send, add a payload. So I think that it's going to be the same thing. mc.send, add a payload. So it's going to pass in here, and that's just going to say return all the arguments, which are passed in as values. Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know you could do this. mc.add a payload. So here we're adding a payload, and then we're passing in arguments, all the arguments. So it's going to return, this is going to return us an array, and the arguments are going to be 3, 4, 0, and 6. And so if we add a payload, it looks like we can, this is just a different way to send the same thing. Copy that, paste it in here. So let's save this, and I'm going to run the tests now. So it says both object.message and object.send sends the message named message to the object. We use send when the name of the message can vary dynamically. Calculated. Okay. Interesting. So the most common way of sending a message is just to say object.message. Huh. Interesting. All right. So I guess that's for dynamically passing in method names. You've got a bunch of tools like that. I have never honestly used that, but I think it's kind of interesting. It'd be sweet to see a real life example where that was useful. But now we're failing on line 81, which means we've passed all these guys, and we can keep moving on. So here we have a typical object instantiated in class, and we say sending undefined messages to a typical object results in errors. So typical is equal to typical object.new. Exception. So we're setting the exception, and we want to assert that there's an error. Typical.foobar. This is going to be a no method error because the typical object has no foobar method on there. I think it's going to be a no method error. And assert match foobar exception.message. So we're setting the exception. Yeah. Okay, so let's run this through our REPL. So we want to create a typical object class, and then we say typical is equal to typical object.new. Okay, cool. And I'm just going to paste this in here because it's kind of big. What? Oh, no. This is going to be a no method error. Exception. Assert raise. Oh. There we go. Exception. Assert raise. Okay, so my REPL doesn't have this in here, so that's not going to work. So this is probably going to be a no method error, and assert match foobar with the exception. This is probably going to work. But let's run the test to see if they pass. We're failing on line 81 in the past, so that if it still fails here. So we passed it. So it was just a no method error. That's what it's looking for. It's undefined messages to a typical object results in errors. So if you try to do something on an undefined, if you try to do something, it's going to create an error. Test calling method missing causes the no method error. Calling method missing. So method missing foobar. Whoa, method missing, typical. Dot method missing. Foobar. No method error. I think that's no method. It's crazy that there's anything. Think about it. If the method missing causes the no method error, then what would happen if we redefine method missing? In Ruby 1.8, method missing method is public and can be called as shown above. However, in Ruby 1.9, the later versions of public testing frameworks, so the example is both Ruby. Just keep in mind you can't call method missing. Thanks. Okay, so this is not really useful anymore because nobody's using old Ruby. I think we're on Ruby 4 now. Oh, Ruby 2, 2.5. So yeah, if you're upgrading from older versions of Ruby, this might be more interesting and useful to you. So yeah, all message catcher. So let's just copy that into our REPL so we have it to play with. So here, it says method missing. I guess we're redefining method missing on this object. So if we instantiate a new catcher, so there is no foobar in this method, so we should get a no method error. Catcher.foobar. Someone called foobar. Okay. So I guess what we're doing is we're setting, there's a method missing. Oh wow, so method missing is just a way to solve, just to give results instead of errors, no matter what happens. So yeah, that's cool. Oh, that's really cool. yeah, catcher dot foo dot useful programmer. 1 2 high array. And then it just passes it back, and it's string interpolating all the arguments that we passed in. So you could be like, sorry, you've hit the all catcher method, but your results are here. So yeah, this is going to be an empty array. This is going to be 1. And this is going to be that. So, because it's just going to return, method catcher.sum. Wait, no, that's not even right. It's going to be someone called this. Yeah, someone called the method. So yeah, it's actually going to be like this. In order to get this quickly, I'm going to copy there. And I'm going to say, oops, I want to go. Args.join with a comma. So this is actually going to be, like that. Cool. So yeah, it's going to be a string. It's returning a string. And within there, it's going to have that guy. So here I'm just doing it like that. And I think we're passing in a space in between there. So it's going to kind of form, the string interpolation will format it. Args.join. So it's grabbing all the arguments that you pass in and it's joining them together. And wow, you could pass in the name. Oh no, this is actually going to be the catcher. And this is going to be foo-baz, because it's actually it's taking the method name and it's joining the arguments. Wow. That's wild. I didn't even know Ruby could do that. So I'm going to run a rake command again in our terminal and the root file for the Koans project. Looks like I probably formatted this a little off. Someone called catcher with to equal someone called catcher with. So I didn't want to put the array marks in here because it's doing args.join with there, which is going to get rid of the array square brackets. So test catching message makes respond to lie. Assert nothing raised. Catcher.any method. Assert catcher.respond to any method. False. Assert equal false. So catcher.respond to any method. Assert nothing is. All message catcher.new. Catcher. Catcher.any method. Respond to any method. I'm not really sure why that works. Okay, so well-behaved foo catcher. So there's a method missing. We've got our method name and args and our block. So here we're just testing what happens again when you have a method missing. Yeah, and so then if the method.name to string is equal to foo to you too, else it's going to go super, and it's going to pass the method names and arguments. So this is maybe a better catcher. Test foo method are caught. So catcher is equal to well-behaved foo catcher.new. So what do you think catcher.foobar? So why are they saying that? What's foobar? Foobar just means it's a non-method. So foobar, it's going in here. It's going to say that doesn't have that. So Ruby is going to automatically pick up the method missing function, and it's going to there's going to be no arguments. So I guess the method name is automatically picked out of there. If the method name to string from position 0 to 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 is equal to foo, then it's going to say foo to you 2. And I think for foo-baz it'll do that as well. Let me run a rake task. I'm not exactly sure about that one. So I'm going to command K to clear my rake, and we'll see what happens. So on line 126 is where we're failing. We're failing up here still. To equal someone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Someone called sum. Someone called. Oh yeah, so the method name's here. So instead of catcher, we want it to be sum. Cool, I'm going to save that and press Command K and then run my rake command again. And now we're on line 160 is what's passing. What's not passing. So it looks like we got this one right. So this, that's what this one did. So yeah, I think our catcher, yeah, so that's how this works. Test non-foo messages are treated normally. So catcher.normal undefined method. What they're just saying here is that this is just an undefined, we're calling a method that we haven't done it, and it's still not working right. So what's this saying? I guess this is a better way to write this because it makes it so that you can fail. My guess is if you always had a bunch of method missing functions, you could get a lot of unexpected results in your program. So we want to assert that there is a no method error called when we do that, because when things fail silently, it's very difficult to find what's going on with that. So here we got another one. So just reopening the class from above. So here they're doing that, and they're doing the same thing. Test explicitly implementing respond to lets objects tell the truth. Okay, cool. So let's just paste that into our REPL again, and let's instantiate a new catcher and set it equal to the variable of catcher. So catcher.respond to foobar. My guess is that it's going to say true because it's converting the symbol into a string, and the first three letters are FOO, and the method name FOO, so that's going to just render to true. And I guess catcher.respond to foobar. True. Okay, cool. That's what we thought. And then catcher.respond to something else. False. Cool. And so what's this saying is that the respond to method is being overwritten by this guy. So you've got this weird foo thing. So if you pass in a method that starts with FOO, then it's going to render true and it's going to do whatever's here. But if this is then if you don't do that, then it goes outside of this method, which is going to make it so it responds to normally like a normal, it's going to use this respond to method as a normal result. Let's run the test and see if they pass. So I want to save my work over here, Command S, and then I'm going to go rake, and we'll see how this goes. It looks like we have passed. So now we're on about proxy objects. Now, this is some pretty dense stuff. If you're kind of lost on this, it makes sense because this is some pretty dense stuff. And if you don't have experience writing programs in Ruby, this might seem kind of mystical to you. So I get it. I think that's kind of the goal of these koans is to think about them. Even now coming back and revisiting this, I've done this maybe 4 or 5 times, and I still find things that are useful. The first time I went through it, I didn't really understand what I was doing, and I was just trying to complete it. And still to this day, I find use in going through here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you in the next lesson.